I'm Jason Goliath,
And I'm Nicholas Goliath.
and this is a new podcast called The Happiness Economy, where we try and unpack, figure out, investigate, interrogate, I think holistically understand what is happiness even.
What is it to you? What is it to me? Is it different? Is it the same? What do you do to chase your happiness? Just chase it. We want to chat to people who we believe have found their happiness or are on the way to finding their happiness and find out what it is that makes them happy.
So, if you're happy, we're happy. The Happiness Economy with Nicholas and Jason Goliath. Tell her what you must. On today's episode of the Happiness Economy, it's the great Dr. Donny Fick. Nicholas, what do you think Donny, because nobody's name is Donny on their ID. I mean, this person is not born in Texas. What do you think his real name is?
Oh,
is
I've
it
never
Donny?
actually thought about this.
What is it?
Donny,
What is it?
It should be Donovan.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's...
Giving
it's
Donald,
not
the whole day giving Donald.
got Donald vibes.
Yeah, the duck or the politician?
Yeah.
No, just Donald. like from McDonald's.
McDonald's. Yeah, that's a nice first name.
That's
Because he was
McDonald's.
eating McDonald's.
That's
before
it.
Guys,
You
I was
see what I
busting. I
did?
was racing from work. I was like, I have these 5 minutes to eat something.
Yeah.
There is a McDonald's outside the studio. I was like, how
Oh,
quickly
man,
can I do it?
Can I tell you, you are so lucky because this is the slowest ass McDonald's on the planet. Bruh, we ordered stuff at the last podcast we shot and we're still waiting.
That's true.
Like
Yes.
it's.
So
I
you're
don't
saying
know.
your heart attack will come before the food would?
No, proper.
That's big facts.
Easily.
That is-
Easily.
Big facts. Okay, say as it is. What is it? Donny. So I say Donald, you say McDonald.
Yeah, I said McDonald.
Is it Donald?
It's Donald, like the duck.
Donald
I'm going with the duck.
like
With the duck.
Desire, like the singer.
Yeah, like the singer. But it was actually quite like when I found out why my parents named me Donald Robert. It's actually quite boring. Like,
Tell me.
It's my dad's
Donald
father's
Roberts. So
first
you are
name.
Dr. Fick.
So on the door of my office, it's like DR, and people are like, did you,
Dr.
is
Doctor.
this intentional? Do you,
Dr.
You stutter.
do you stutter? Is this intentional?
On my nameplate, can I have Dr. Fick?
His surname is actually Thick, but it's the speech impediment. Dr. Fick. It's not.
So yeah, you're right. So like people are always confused. They're like, well, you're a doctor. I was like, guys, my parents just took my father's name
Yeah.
and my mother's father's name
Oh, nice.
and put it together. I was like, who won that argument? Like, which name goes
Yeah.
first?
Yeah.
No one told me at the end.
Well, I feel like that's from a time where the father's
Always first,
had
right?
to-
Yeah. That was like
Yeah.
deep
Where
early.
the father's father never dished up, didn't even know where the spoons were because food was
100%.
just brought
But
to him
also,
always.
he didn't want to call him Fick Road. They
Yeah,
wanted him
like
to be Dr. Fick.
RD would not
RD, not
RD
Road.
would not.
Yeah.
Like looking back at it, RD would not
Yes,
have been a
Fick
thing
Road.
at all.
No, it would have been like a mirror effect, like Doctor.
Like you could have
RD.
put it like you're right.
Yeah,
Like, it would
yeah.
made a great logo.
No, top, bruh. Top.
See,
Yeah.
But I mean,
disadvantaged
here you
communities.
are.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
are.
Fine.
DR.
Dr. Fick.
I've never thought of it that way. Like I started when I came.
Okay, so please welcome Dr. Fick to the show. Dr. Fick, the reason we have you on, brother, is very, very simple. I'm not sure if you got to watch the podcast, but in reality, Nick and I are students of this thing. We try to just understand as much as we can about happiness, the pursuit of happiness, the way people gather their happiness, the way people manage their happiness. And the way we do that is we invite people who we perceive to be happy. So everybody has this little window, social media, where we look at people's lives and vicariously live through this little slither.
snapshot.
Yeah.
And here we are trying to interrogate those little
Those happy
snapshots.
people.
100%.
Are you actually?
100%. Trying
And
to
if so,
interrogate
how?
and figure it out. We use the thing that we've come up with is gap, because we figured that happiness exists only in the moment, and if you can fill the gap constantly, you'll have happier moments. So it's that thing of, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. It's, all of those sayings are very, very similar now, and we kind of unpack and understand them a little bit better. Nick sets up gap for us.
Yeah, so GAP is gratitude, acceptance, and perspective. Because we feel like when you're not feeling in a good space, those are the 3 points that you kind of need to go to. Because if you live in a space of gratitude, it's easier to find yourself in a happier space. If the acceptance is acceptance of self, acceptance of situation, acceptance of everything to do with you. Because if you can accept who you are, where you are, why you are, what you are, it's easier to then find your happiness. That's what we believe. And then also perspective or perception, because sometimes when things are not feeling or going the way you want them to go, sometimes you just need to change your perspective and look at a situation from a different angle, and find maybe the lesson behind the tough times. So those are the 3 points.
That's so well said, right? Like, I have not even thought of it like that. Like, and gratitude, acceptance, perspective.
So what we're trying to do is so we say gap because we realize that it's got to be real, but it's also got to be something that you can keep close to you all the time. So when you are, if you can train yourself to acknowledge when you're not feeling the way you want to feel, I'm not even going to say feeling sad or feeling down, but when you're not feeling the way you'd like to feel, generally, if you have access to your gratitude and you're very solid and clear on what that means, if you have access to what you're accepting, why you're accepting, and we also have to accept where we are, which I think is a difficult one, and then perspective. From a perspective point of view, my perception of you is this guy's happy. I mean, doctor.
We should get my wife on this podcast.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
She would be like,
yeah,
it's not
yes,
the case.
yes.
Shut up! It's not the case. You were screaming at me this morning because you couldn't find the shoes that you wanted to wear.
Why do you think our wives have not been here yet? Because we don't need the truth. Nobody needs the truth. Nobody needs the truth. But perception-wise, and you've got a very interesting perception thing, because especially as a colored bra, it reads well, right? So firstly, colored doctor. If you come from where we come from, and you're a doctor, already we hate you. Already, because you're better than us in our minds. So colored doctor looks like you married your dream girl based on the way we see you celebrate your wife online.
And your life.
And you leave some meat on the bone, because I think some people erode their happiness by taking it to the extremes and leaving nothing else. But you don't drive a TTRS, you drive a TTS, which means you're still leaving the R.
Humility, like you need room.
You're still leaving room to aspire. You know what I mean? But those things tick all the boxes. You got no kids. You're a doctor, happily married, drives his dream car. Like 10-year-old Jason would look at you and go, I want to be that guy. That guy has to be happy. So let's ask you.
Because 10-year-old Jason didn't know how long it takes to study to be a doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10-year-old Jason also thought he would fit in a TT. You know what I mean?
10-year-old Jason would have fit in a
I must be honest, at 41 years old, it's getting harder and harder. I had this conversation the other day. I was like, maybe the next car shouldn't be that low. Like, you get out and you push the door out and you're like, ooh, my back hurts.
Not attractive.
No, doesn't look good.
Especially now with me. Now there's a crack coming out first. You know what I mean? Because I got a bend
100%,
too low.
you can't.
It's a bit...
But I think to touch on what you said earlier, I think the G for me is one of the most important things. Like, 10-year-old Donny would not believe that I would be here today.
Yes.
And I think I'm so grateful that... I think I was listening to the Trevor Noah some podcast the other day where it's like, apartheid ended at just the right time.
Yes.
I think... had it ended 2 to 3 years later, I would
Different
not have
story.
had the opportunities to go and study medicine to do what we did. So I think as a colored person growing up in Bosman and Riverlee, this, for me, I still pinch myself that we get to do things that our parents couldn't do, right?
Yeah.
Like, and maybe not even our parents, people that were 4 or 5 years older than us.
100%,
couldn't do.
yeah.
So I'm still so grateful.
In the
And
words
hopefully that
of...
comes through. Like I'm so happy to be a doctor. This is my dream job. But
Feel
every
it.
now
But
and
not-
again, I pinch myself. I'm like, oh shit, we're still here. And we
But
can
not
do this.
only a doctor, like a good human doctor. I listen to how much Donovan praises you. I'm like, Don, you are happily married to a woman. Why are you so in love with this
Donovan
guy? Like,
Goliath.
Oh, thank you, Donovan
Don
Goliath.
has a crush on Donny. Let's
Oh,
just
yes.
put it out there.
We're
Donovan
going to take this
Goliath
further after the show.
has
Donovan.
a guy crush on Donny. It is what
But
it
he's
is.
such a great human as well. And I mean, this is so interesting for me personally that we find ourselves here today because we've dabbled in the space together. Like, this is not the first rodeo for like the four of us.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there was a mental health thing that you guys came to do in 2019.
Yes.
And then we did, I can't remember the
We
name
did
of
we
it.
did Goliaths Go Live.
That lunchtime
and
COVID
it
show.
became
Yes,
like
yeah,
our,
yeah.
yes, the lunchtime
Yes.
COVID show that saved our lives, by the
The
way.
lunchtime
More
very
ways
much
COVID
than
so.
show.
one.
Very much so.
And you were like basically the resident doctor on the.
Yeah, those were wild times, right? And then I suppose I've had a lot of interaction with Donovan, and he is just such an inspiring human being. as well.
yeah.
And it goes back to the same thing of like, somehow, I don't know how we've not managed to cultivate a better colored community of like professionals, people that have done good stuff, cool stuff. It's in my world, it seems very fragmented.
It is very fragmented, and I blame the culture. because there's this culture of not praising yourself. There's this culture of not patting yourself on the back.
Or praising your friend, or
Yes.
praising...
No, because those things go hand in
Yeah.
hand. If you're not allowed to praise yourself, you also only praise people that are not doing as well as you.
Yeah.
So it's easy to praise people that are kind of below you and aspiring to be where you are. But as soon as somebody's doing better than you, the culture made you feel like, oh, you think you're better. And like, I remember we grew up in a space where people would say things like, oh, you think you're white.
Yeah.
Then we're like, what do you mean? Oh no, you go to a fancier school. Or
You ride
your father-
rollerblades.
Yes, you have I had rollerblades, and literally I was
The outcast kid
traumatized.
from-
Traumatized, teased, guarad. Because also I was a big kid for roller skates. It was you've all seen that hippo on a rollerblade. It was not an attractive.
Now we're all at the space now where I think it is so important to like praise the people around you. And I think maybe that is like happiness. I'm going to take this back a little. Like, I think humans are here to serve. This is my big thing. I think
Yes.
service
Yes.
is so important. And I think it's something we're missing in culture. And service also means like, hey, Jason's doing well. Clap for him.
Yes.
Donovan's doing well. Nick's doing well. Clap for them. But somehow in culture, we've missed this. Like, instead of clapping for someone, you're like, I want to be in their spot.
Yes.
I
Why
can't
not
be in
me?
your spot.
Yeah. Why not me?
I'm like, oh, man. Jason had much better tickets at Red Bull experience than I did because he was there with Cool Thought. I was in the sun on the top of the hill. And now being like, I want to be there. Instead of being like, well done to him for getting that gig. Like,
Yes.
we should clap more for people. And I think that feeds into the service thing. And you'll be happier, I think, as a human being.
Exactly. And it's also just the appreciation of where you are to go. There's a chance I would not be at the Red Bull thing anyway.
Exactly.
But I'm here. Even though I'm in the sun, I'm here in the
Yeah,
thing where
yeah,
there
exactly.
are people outside looking and going, yeah, I wish I could be there in the sun
100%.
where that
Gratitude
bra
again.
is. Yeah.
And perspective.
And Jason is not a doctor. I'm here in the sun, and I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
Jason
Yeah,
is just a patient looking
every-
like.
But so that
looking
was
like
going to
he
be
has
one of
ailments.
my main things. It like because you went to the German school, which is the same school my kids go to. It always worries me that as a different colored person, the perception of the world. So like you saying, coming from Bosman, from Riverlea, from those areas, it's very difficult to get out and change the narrative, and still maintain your colored identity.
that was difficult. That is still difficult, I
Yeah.
think, today. Like, it was difficult in the 90s. And it's still hard now when people say, Donny, like, why are you so comfortable wearing a pink or purple Speedo at a holla
Wearing
Daredevil
candy
run
floss.
or like
Candy
candy
floss
floss on
khakis.
your shoes? You know, the things that colored people, you'd be laughed at.
Yes.
If we were to rewind now and go to 1992 and I got out of a taxi
Oh.
at Bosman Primary.
with the green.
Oh,
you
no.
got out the taxi with a green. People will be like,
be-
oh, the knick-knack man is here.
Oh, yeah.
The knick-knack man wear green.
Yeah.
But the German school definitely, the one, I often say this, like the one like life-changing moment was when my dad was like, you're going to the German school. This was 1992, right?
So did you go full German stream or?
So there was a program back then for, I can't remember politically what was happening in 1992, but we still had the orange, blue, and white flag, and
Yeah.
things were starting to change, and I was maybe 8 years old. And the German school ran a program for kids that came from previously disadvantaged communities to go
Which
to the
they still
German
do
school.
till today, yeah.
As part of this, like, we're now gonna RDP education kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's in,
BE.
yeah, BE, make it right. And I was part of that.
Yeah.
So you'd leave Bosmont in the morning, go to the German school, which
Yeah.
is like traveling overseas, right? Like
Yeah.
you'd see things you saw white girls in swimming costumes, things you'd never seen in your life before. And then you'd come back to this colored community.
Yeah.
And then people would be like, have you listened to Tupac? I'm like, I don't know who Tupac is. At the German school, they're not
Yeah.
Ostracized.
And then
Ostracized.
you immediately
Alienated.
ostracized.
Yeah.
But if I look at it now, like, weirdly, my wife also went to the German school. Maybe that's why we get along, because our perspective.
Were you
of the
guys lovers
world-
from school?
We can't talk about that on air because I would go to jail.
Oh, how much younger than you?
6 years. So I didn't know she
My
was that-
man! My man came through with a standard 6 when he was in first year. My
So
man.
we only met much
man lies.
Much later.
My man
Years
lies.
later.
How do you
Years
say?
later.
How do you say how you doing in German? How do you say that?
Wie geht's? Like,
Wie geht's?
We get, I get, you get, we all get.
and so maybe that's why. Yeah, you're right. Like we met much. I think 2009, 2008 we met. But like we both see the world through this like Eurocentric.
Yeah.
Like, and what and maybe this relates back to like why like a little bit more happy. Like the German school definitely took out made you shed those colored shackles of like you need to save for retirement. You know, all those old school things.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
need to do X, Y, and Z. You can't blow all your savings on travel. You need a And the German school kind of instilled into you in a very like subconscious way. Like, if you have money in your bank account,
Dala.
travel, do it,
Go do
enjoy
things.
your life.
Dala.
Like, make the most of these moments. I think was the most important thing. I think that form of education did. It's still difficult for me to, like, how do I say this bluntly, but be as colored as possible. Like, I never went to a C4 party or any of those things because it was not just
Shout out Warren Carolus.
the German school way,
Yeah.
right? Like,
So I can get that and I can understand that. I just don't want us to miss an opportunity here because I want to go back to the first thing you said about why we can't be happy for each other, why we don't celebrate each other, and why every now and then we even have to talk ourselves off those ledges of kind of a bit of jealousy. One of the things that I say on stage, and I'm asking you to vet this, whether whether it rings true or not to you. So I go, acceptance is a very weird thing. You can't accept yourself until you love yourself. Yeah. Then I go, I have a very secret sentence. And if you ask yourself this question and answer it only for yourself, is one of the tricks to know if you love yourself. Because I think everybody speaks about self-care, self-love, really being self-aware and appreciating self and being proud of self and then accepting self. But I don't believe you can accept yourself until you love yourself. And I don't believe you love yourself if the answer to this question, if somebody in your circle, your family, your work circle, your friend circle has a big win and your brain's first thing is, why not me?
Yeah.
I don't think you love yourself.
100%.
So you're saying that is.
I think that's true because, like, you're right. Like, because you're not comfortable in your own skin to be able to clap. Because then there's
Yes.
something missing in your own life
Yes.
that you're not like. Why am I jealous of this opportunity, and what am I not?
100%.
What's missing in my life that I'm now jealous of this guy that's doing this?
So for me, if you can't give people their flowers, it generally means you haven't given yourself your flowers. You haven't, because acceptance is like, and Nick and I have debated this so much, where Nick always goes, acceptance is not admitting defeat. It's not surrendering to where you are. But you can't get to where you're going unless you truly embrace where you are.
But I think it's also important that we unpack this to the viewers that you're not born that way. Right?
No.
Like, we didn't. We
No.
weren't accepting of ourselves from 6
Oh
years
no!
old.
And in certain instances, are still not.
No,
Are still
like,
not.
And
Yeah.
I think my personal journey, and I think everyone's is different, is like I first went through this phase of like really hating myself, like making decisions in my life that I regretted and then beating myself up about it, and then going through this, you're not worthy to sit at this table because you effed up
you did
X,
those
Y, and
things.
Z,
Yes,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
you don't deserve it. And then you go through years of pent up anger, and you're right. I was not happy for a very long time, and this happened to coincide with the first couple of years of my marriage, which was a bit of a shit show.
Yeah.
And we don't talk about that, but like I was not happy because I didn't love myself. And once you had been through the therapy and the talking and unpacking like why those decisions actually you had no influence over, and it is what it is, and shit happens, and you move on, then you accept yourself, then you start to love yourself. And then I feel like happiness is like momentum as well.
Yes.
Like the more it comes and it comes, and we find ourselves in a very happy space now, and that's great. And but it wasn't always like that. And
It
I
was
think
work.
It was work, and it took a lot of work, therapy, fights, long nights, wanting to walk out of my job, my marriage, all of these things that people are like, that's amazing that you have, but like that was not always.
But that's the other thing is that people look at you now and say, "Oh, must be so nice, must be so wonderful. You're a doctor, you're married to this beautiful woman, you get to travel the world," and they don't understand the work, the effort that you've gone through to get to this place. They don't understand the feeling of hating yourself, of not being happy, not feeling adequate.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing to see the development, and I honestly feel like it goes back to where we were raised, where we come from, that we weren't allowed to celebrate each other.
Yeah.
It wasn't a thing.
I remember like vague conversations of like, you're right, like your parents would be like, we don't speak to the neighbors anymore because they've got a nicer car.
Yeah.
Then it was like so.
Who do they think they are?
Yeah.
They think they're better than us.
Yes,
Yeah.
those that traveled your parents would always go, "Oh, they're bragging about their travels again." And it's like, no, they're not bragging. They're just really
They just
excited
traveled.
They're
to
just really excited about where they're
tell
going.
you.
Right?
And like I look at it now and I go, we share these things because I want to excite you. I want you, like,
I
we
want to
wanna-
inspire you. I want to stir
Exactly.
something inside of you that.
that makes you go, yes, man. I also want to do. I also can.
Because
But
that's the most exciting thing about being alive, right? And it comes back to like I think like you have to accept where you are, and lots of people have asked me many questions over my life, like why didn't you specialize? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? And every now and again, in moments of weakness, because this happens all the time, you go, yeah, why didn't I? And then I was like, it wasn't the right time. Things didn't align. That's what life didn't want for me at that stage. And I'm now happy with all of those decisions. And now I love myself, and I've got perspective that this what I have now is incredible. You could always want more, right? How long is a piece
No,
of
but
string?
that's so we spoke just in the previous episode about I keep saying that COVID cured me of the disease of more.
Yeah.
And I also realized that I never unpack that sentence even to myself. Like, what does that even mean? And it's not so much that I stop becoming desperate for more of everything, because I think we're in this social media just encourages you every day. You need more, you need new, you
But
need
they also
bigger,
prompt you with
you need
adverts.
100%.
Things to,
Marketing
like,
is the worst thing that ever happened to society.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's but getting over the disease of more meant understanding the cost of more. So when I hear you go, people always say to you, why didn't you specialize? In my case, it would be people going, why didn't you ever move to LA and try? And then I would always go, is because I don't want to work that hard. And then people don't want to accept that as a sentence. And I go, because I understand the cost of that success. So the cost of that success is I can't have a wife. I can't live around the corner from my mother. I can't have a relationship with my nephews all around because I'm not there. And then I go, I'm in a space of my life where I get to do my favorite things and I get to have a wife.
100%. And it's all balanced, right?
Yes.
And it's exactly what you said, because I knew when I left community service that I couldn't specialize. I knew that it was not for me. I didn't have what it takes. Like, and I think I clap for those people that do, because they have superhuman skills to have gone through another
More
6
school.
years of school, another 6 years of government hospital, and working in that system that really exploits young junior doctors. So
Yes.
I want to clap for every specialist,
No,
because
we'll
I
all
think
clap
they
for
have
them.
done an
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
amazing
You
job.
are special.
You are
Except
definitely
dermatologists. Footsack.
They've
I'm
got
sorry, I
their
have
own-
my own issues.
We need
with-
to unpack that a little bit as well. But you're right. Like, I just didn't have what it takes. And you need to know, and that comes back to like acceptance. You need to know where your limitations are.
Yes.
You need to know that this is all I can give. And more than that, I won't be doing myself justice, my life justice. I'd hate it.
But also, this is all that I want.
100%.
Not
Yes.
It's not only all that I can give, it's all that I want. I'm happy to be here at this level. And I think that's a problem that society has, is that we want better for everybody else.
Yeah.
Like, everybody, we want to go to Jason and say, you can be Trevor Noah. Why aren't you working to
Why
be
aren't you in
Trevor
the
Noah?
M5 competition?
Yeah, why aren't you a surgeon of hearts? And then I just go, no, just allow people to be who they want to be, as long as you're not hurting anybody.
Post-COVID, that thing of mine has literally just become cool. Are you happy?
Yeah.
And it's also, maturity has helped me understand that when you say at ComServe already you knew you're not going to specialize, you don't have what it takes, that is not you saying I'm not smart enough to specialize.
Yeah.
That's not you saying that I don't have the grades or I won't pass, but it's you going, no, I physically don't want to
don't have
commit
the
to that
stamina of
time.
enough. I was like,
That's the cost.
Yeah, I was like 6 years, and like the stamina, and like now I talk to people that are specialists, and they're like, dude, you have no idea how hard those 6 years actually
Yes,
were.
I'm sure.
Those additional 6 years were terrible, and I was like, I can't believe it, and I was like, and then someone actually, my cousin's now a big shot specialist. She's a rheumatologist, and she was like, the reason you're happy and maybe I'm not as happy as you, because you didn't spend 6 more years at Helen Joseph. And I was like, maybe that is why.
It's big facts that, and you and her can afford the same steak. I'm always like, you spent the extra 6 years, but
No,
when we
I
go
went
to a
to dinner with her.
restaurant,
She can definitely go with the biggest.
No. So she is, but on the day you can, you know what I mean?
You
I'm
can
not
make
saying
it
you
work.
I'm not saying you can eat that steak every day. But I'm saying when you go to a restaurant on an occasion,
100%.
we can afford. So I always make a joke and I go, yes, Trevor earns 2 to 3x in dollars what I earn in rands. Like, if you just took figure for figure. But in South Africa, there's no steak Trevor can buy that I can't buy.
100%, right?
There's no David Hicks meal that Trevor can afford that I can't. I'm not saying I'm happy to pay 3,000 for that steak. I'm not saying I don't have to not eat the next day. But I am saying
Today we are eating
Today,
steak.
like for like, our credit cards are going head to
we
head.
will
and
embrace the teachings of the German school and eat that money.
We're gonna eat that money today.
I love that. So gratitude. We've ticked off. Is it easier for you to maintain your gratitude because the example of what you could have been is so loud. And by that I mean, when you come from the communities that we come from, we all have a friend that had potential and is either passed away because of drugs, or lost his life because of drugs, or Nick and I speak very often about the things that we owe our parents for removing us from a situation. I mean, we both moved out of Eldorado Park in primary school in the early 90s, where we understand that should we have stayed, we would have been exposed to different things that could have taken our lives in different ways. But at the same token, I also come from a mother who told me I was capable every single day. And I know that I've got friends who had parents who weren't as encouraging, who didn't create that perception of anything is possible for you. You know what I mean? So let's talk about that background. Your folks obviously created the opportunities by putting you into programs like the one you were at the German school, but was that backed up by also convincing you that you're enough? In terms of parenting and love, was that structure
I was raised in
solid?
like a very like perfectionist household. Like my parents were like, 95 is not good enough. I'm like, what do you mean?
Where's the other 5?
Yeah, they were like, well, you left 5 on the table. I'm like, come on. Like looking back at it now, they were pretty hard on us. They were like, I remember like my dad was a school teacher, and like I'll never forget this Christmas. I must have been 11. What was that cricket set? Like, the guy could bowl and then you could set it up. It was like test match, and then you could move the lever of the batsman. Very old school.
We never had those toys. That was the Toys R Us catalog, guys.
That was, and he was like, it was Christmas Day, and he was like, you can't open this until you finish the book I told you to read at the beginning of the holidays.
On Christmas Day?
He was like, but you're not done.
Mr. Fick.
I was like,
Mr.
bruh.
Fick is a boss.
I had like 10 pages to go. My sister was playing with her toys. I was sitting there speed reading. I'll never forget this book, right? It was called I Am David. I was like, why am I reading this? It makes no sense. He's like, you have to read it. They were very like, if you want this, you must work. And I think I still have that today. I was like, if you want to achieve that, like Christmas Day, we're not giving you the shortcut. You're 10 pages short. No shortcut. This is.
But do you realize now that making you read the book was a greater gift
100%.
than the actual cricket set?
100%. Those lessons were intense. Like you have to go you have to finish it. You have to finish your task if you want something. And I think that's. You're right, I joke about it now, but these are some valuable lessons.
But also you enjoyed the cricket set more after those 10
I was
pages.
grumpy for a couple of days. But
I'm sure. But
no, but that's just because the book is sad. That's just 'cause the book, anything with
bro.
David in, very sad. Sad ending, stones are thrown. And
no, but I feel like the
do
appreciation
you do that with your
of
kids? I don't know. I don't have kids, so I don't know how do you parent?
Oh, yes,
like,
yeah. So
do you create this like reward system of.
So my thing with the kids is you've just got your job now is to pass, do well at school, do the best you can do. I don't put them under the pressure of I want 100% because I wasn't 100% student. I wasn't a student. So my thing is understand what you want, understand what you need to do to get what you want, and then do the work. So like Matthew, the eldest, he wants to be an aeronautical engineer. So he has a clear understanding of the subjects that he needs, the marks that he needs. And my job is to make sure that he can get there and do that. So that's what we do. I give him every opportunity to experience the world that he wants to be in, so that you've got to see it to believe it. You've got to believe that it's possible.
And now, but like I suppose right, like you said to your kids, like you need to do X, Y, and Z. We don't have kids on the side of the table.
No.
Do you just tell your children, be happy? Like it's irrespective of like if we know you're doing the best that you can. Like, do parents do that to teenagers? Like, are you happy or are you not? Like, or is it too risky to do that?
Look, I feel like we've got to ask the parents everything, because even me, I'm gonna guess.
Asking if your kids
So
are happy.
like as a parent, you go like, we want you to do like pass, be fairly good in sports, do like tick all these boxes. But do parents go to kids like, but does any of this make you happy? Is there that metric of like, are you happy doing all of these things? Back to why we're actually here. Talking about
so
that?
for me, it's not. I want to know from them what they want to do.
Okay.
I can't say
You're
I
not
want you to
projecting,
be. I want you to be good at sports. I want you to. My eldest, he's not a sportsman. He doesn't spark sports. He likes robotics. He likes technology, and he wants to be an aeronautical engineer. Then I go, cool. How do I then support you to make sure you're doing things that make you happy? So I pay for the robotics. I take him to go and look at cars and technology. We share information about how things are built and created and engines and, all of the things that I know feeds him in
Happiness.
terms of what he's excited and interested in. Because I don't want to force my way of thinking onto them and go, no, if you do this, it's going to make you happy. I've got to know what do you want, and then how do I support you to give you the happiness.
And then you're very good at doing what Gail taught me, my mom taught me was life is simple and comes down to two main things, and you both have just spoken about it now: choice and consequence. And my mother's words were, all I'm wanting for you is to be smart enough to be able to think about the consequences you want to enjoy and let that inform the choices that you have to make.
Yeah.
So she was always like, exactly, you want to be a doctor, you want to be an aeronautical engineer, you need to understand the choices you're going to have to make for that to be the consequence. Like, she flipped that script where I think a lot of parents kind of, force it down. For me, it was like, you can have anything you want. And I'll support you in anything you want, but if you want this, you're going to have to do this. And if you understand that and you're going to bring that, then you should.
And I think a lot of my parenting style comes from that type of mentality.
Choice and consequence.
Choice and consequence.
And that's so interesting that you say that, because that comes back down to happiness. Because you're right, happiness is in a very in the moment thing. And choice and consequence, there is, like, lots of people say you need X, Y, and Z to be happy, but it does come down to a bit of a choice. I think every day. Like,
every day.
You can choose. And I mean, I'll share this with everyone. Like, my wife's definitely the sober-minded one in the relationship.
Yeah.
I would fly off the hinges at some stage and be like, I am so angry right now. A bit of context, like, we've got a big crack in the wall at home that needs to be fixed, and it's going to be a big thing. And I'm like, I'm so angry with the developer. This one, we need to speak to the lawyers. We need to fight. And I'm angry and I don't sleep. And she's like, but what is the consequence of that choice? She's like, you have to accept it. The wall's broken. We need to fix it. I was like, stop lecturing me. I need to be angry right now. But you're right. Like, she was like, that anger is going to have consequences. Then you don't sleep well tonight because you're stewing. Then you upset with your patients tomorrow, and it's got consequences, these choices. And if you just accept it and be like, the wall's cracked, and it's easy said than done. But
it is what
it is what it is, right? Like, and you can't change it. You just have to fix it. But if you go down the anger, not happy pathway, then there's bigger consequences in that moment.
But I find people who go down those anger pathways are not considering the consequences. Because
no, you don't.
They don't leave room for joy. Like, and I think a lot of people kind of deflect from whatever their situation is by doubling down on the crack on the wall. So you getting angry about the crack on the wall allows you to be distracted from what you should actually be worried about. So I'm always trying to say, like, be very conscious of where you give power, where you give your energy.
And your emotions and your time.
100%.
Yes.
So don't
come in so much time like, I'm so angry with this thing.
On a thing that doesn't matter.
Fix the wall yourself?
And you're right. Like this is even more philosophical. This could be the last day or two we have on Earth.
Dude.
Am I going to be worried about this wall, or am I going to enjoy this moment? And it's about being intentional about these things as well. Be like, yes, that is what it is. We can't do anything about it.
As frustrating as it is, as angering as it is, that's where the perspective also comes, because you could have no wall with no crack.
Or I could have very
And
little
no
time
roof.
left on this earth. Am I going to spend it being mad over something I wouldn't even get to enjoy if I die? Like the fixed wall. Like it's all perspective.
It's also
man.
the crack creates a gap, and to fill the gap, you need gap.
The gap,
Yes.
I watched weird emotional TikTok. I watch too much TikToks. I really do. But I watched a weird emotional TikTok of like one of those, like a redneck hillbilly type guy, you know, that typical character, and you're expecting him just to be, supporting Trump. And then the O just goes deeply serious, and he goes, "You all know I haven't been okay since my daughter passed away." And then you feel that video go quiet, and he says, "I have not been able to cope because I was just so angry. I was just so angry, and I kept saying, why God, why God, why God, why God?" And then he said, and then God answered me and said, "Okay, so would you have rather not had her at all? Would you rather have never given her to you at all, so that you don't feel this pain? Or are you more grateful that you had the time?" And the O in tears, one of those, a tattooed man who you can see doesn't cry, in tears goes, it was so overwhelming to me that me focusing only on my loss made me ignore the gift. And the gift was that I did have her. She did change my life. She did teach me to love. She did take me through that. And then I was like, this is a parent going through the worst nightmare I could ever imagine for any parent. And in that moment, this person's prayers provided the perspective that we speak about every single day. So you could spend the rest of your life in this hole and no one would question you. I know parents that have not come back from losing a child, and we've indulged the depression because there's nothing heavier that you could go through. But I watched her in tears turn that sorrow into gratitude by flipping the perspective and the lens with which he was looking at what he was going through. I don't know why I want to do.
No, but okay. No. After
There
you.
are 2 points that I want to say to that.
Yeah.
Like, number one is, like, there's a phrase that goes, the deeper the grief, the bigger the love, right? And I think that is touching on the gift. And I think there were clues when we were younger. Like, didn't Dr. Seuss, the guy with the crazy hat,
Yes,
like, I don't know what cartoon he was in, but he was like, don't cry because it ended, smile because it happened. And I think lots of us are like,
that.
yeah, like that. That I know it's crazy, but that's like a phrase that it like sticks with me, because we often, like, at the end of a season, at the end of everything, you're like, man, I'm so bummed that it's over, but you don't recognize that, like, so much good. Life doesn't go, like, nothing lasts forever, right?
No.
Nothing
And
does.
nothing goes according to plan.
So if you, like, you come to the end of a season or production or a relationship, or friends move overseas and you've lost contact with them, and you often go, man, I'm so sad that it's ended. But you're right. Smile because it happened, and then that's where the
Smile.
gift. That's where the gift.
I believe that you can constantly train yourself to become better at that.
And that's why it comes back to what Auntie Girl said, like choices and consequences.
That's
it.
You got to wake up every morning and be like, yeah, I might not have, that relationship might have ended, but what have I learned from it? Look back at some of the happy memories. Like, I still speak about some of my exes with fondness. Yes, those relationships ended, but there were good moments too.
There
Like,
were
and I've
good
learned.
moments. Otherwise, you
can't-
wouldn't have been there.
Yeah,
They
you
had
can't
to
be
have
like,
handled-
no, I ended that relationship and I hated every single moment of it. No, but I feel culture needs to teach us that, because you need to shame the one in order to move on to the other.
I mean, I
And
can
it's
say
not
with
how life
confidence,
works.
there's never been a relationship before my wife. My wife is the first person that saw me naked. My wife is the first person that I saw naked after my mother. I don't know.
A real conversation. But we learn some lessons along the way, like, and that's important. Like, you always have to look back at some of these things and, like, remember it better than it. Like, sometimes we do remember these things better than they were actually at the time.
And
but
those
then-
previous relationships, whatever went wrong with them, whatever caused them to end, has made your relationship with your wife now better.
100%.
Because you've made the mistakes there, you don't make the same mistakes again.
Yeah.
It's part of the learning process. It's like when people ask if you could go back in time and change anything, what would you change? I always say nothing, because I'm happy with where I am. Yes, I've made mistakes. Yes, my life could be so much better, but I'm so happy with where I am right now that there's nothing I want to change.
100%, because you've missed the lessons. You've missed the experience that gets you to where you
And the lessons help you appreciate. Like, gratitude is impossible without that reference. So
it is-
if there was no pain, what are you grateful
But
for?
you also think it's age that gives you that perspective as well.
Absolutely.
Because at 41, I can much easier swallow that pill now. But at 25, I was like, I don't need these lessons.
No, at 25,
right
you
now.
thought you knew everything.
Yeah, I don't need this. This is a hindrance. This is a pain. But now, like, it puts it into perspective. You're like, yeah, the learning is important.
So do you then get to a point, because I find, like, now my 40s, I mean, I'm 43, turning 44 next week. I find my relationship with trauma, my relationship with something negative happening has changed. I literally, in the middle of something going wrong, will find myself going, okay, what am I supposed to learn here? So instead of, like, collapsing, like, I mean, Nick and I had a simple thing. Nick and I had a simple thing the other day. We're supposed to be flying to East London. The office phones at, like,
The day before.
the day before to go, hey, we're trying to check you in. These flights don't exist. We go, what do you mean? We don't know why something
have
happened.
seat
There's
numbers.
no flights. We got seat numbers. We got boarding. No, sorry, something. It's cancelled your flight. So we go, okay, well, book another flight. There's no flights to the Eastern Cape.
Was
there
this a
must be
snowing
flights.
weekend?
Yes.
This was the snowing
I
weekend.
remember.
There's no flights to the Eastern Cape. What do you? Okay, try PE. We can fly and drive. There's no flights to PE. Try Mthatha. There's no flights to Mthatha. Like, we try there's no flights. There's
You're
no flights.
done.
There's no flights. So I literally call Nick and I say, hey, chap, I've called around. They've got something for me at the airport. I'm gonna go rent a car at the airport. I'll pick you up in the morning. We're leaving at 5. Our thing is it is what it is. You know, let me know if you need anything. I will be on standby. And then we get to drive through the snow. And we didn't go Van Reenen where it was all choked up. We were on the other side of the mountains, which was just perfect.
beautiful. It's
Blessings,
magical.
right?
Like, bruh,
Magical.
like when we
that's the stuff we've
It's like
been
the Jonah
seeing
and
on
the
news.
whale
Dude.
stories, right?
And-
of like,
and-
We see it on the news all the time and go, yeah, I wish
Yes.
this. why can't we be there? Why aren't we traveling this weekend when
Yes.
it's snowing?
Yes,
And
my
the
wife
amount of-
shouted at me.
The amount of your wife probably said, we should go, we should go, we
No,
should
I
go.
said let's go. She's like, "Do you want to die there?" I was like, "Come on, this would be great for
I'm a
Instagram."
doctor.
They need me.
She was like, "You're gonna get hypothermia." I was like, "We have a sleeping bag from Kith. We will be."
Come on! But literally said it to Nicholas as we were driving. We weren't even in the snow yet. Just seeing the snow-capped mountains. I said it immediately, guys, this is why we missed our flights.
Yeah.
This
There's
is
a
why we
reason
missed
for
our flights,
everything.
so that we could be here, so that we could experience this. Nobody in the country is experiencing this the way we are. You know what I mean? Because we experienced it in the most beautiful way. There were people that were trapped for days that had a horror story where ours was
Beautiful, right?
gentle, beautiful. I mean, when we got there, they'd closed the pass, and we were so brave. We were like, no, we're going through. We've got
We're
a
gonna
show.
see what
Yeah.
happens.
What car did you
we are either fortunate.
Good.
And on purpose. You
I
know
was
what I
like,
mean?
"You get that polo."
No.
Hey.
We
Fool
treat
me
ourselves. We treat ourselves very well. You think
Top
you're the only
blue
doctor?
whale
We are
one.
doctors of jokes, Donny Fick. We are doctors of jokes here. We are also fine.
I mean, we went to Cape Town. I rented one of those. Man, it's challenging.
So challenging. Do you have to go see a chiropractor also after this?
I mean, no, but like my left hand, I never worked that hard in a long time.
You had a manual.
I had a manual. I went cheap. I was like, man, we're gonna go. What is
Nah, you
Hey,
deserve that stress. Dude.
No, this
Nah,
man is
you
saving for his travels.
You deserve.
Gotta
He's saving for more Keith things. If you don't know
Yeah.
about Keith,
Google
don't
that.
Google. The biggest collector of Keith in South Africa. This guy,
Oh,
the
man.
biggest collector.
It's there
If
somewhere.
you
Yeah,
don't
it is,
know,
but-
if you don't know, now you know. Now you know. Keith,
Crazy, but like
Keith number one.
I struggle sometimes, and I think we have to be honest because people think, these guys are always happy. They know how to manage gap, they deal with every trauma. No, I don't. I think like I've got the most supportive partner. I don't know how Sean puts up with my shit. I really don't. Like, but she's so level-headed. The other day, like, I accidentally flooded the apartment. Like, you know, the water comes on, it goes off.
Yes, you.
I opened the tap, and we went out for a run,
and the
and
plug was in.
came in, and like the water's like knee high in the apartment. It's a Sunday morning,
Big
right?
eye rolls.
Yeah.
Big eye rolls.
So I get there and I sit on, like, I went to the bathroom and I just sat on the toilet and I was like, I do not have the capacity. I have such anxiety now. I can't deal with this water. And she was like, I'm giving you 2 minutes. Calm down. Get yourself, like, we're going to fix this. But she's very, like, in a supportive way of like, I get you have anxiety. I know this is stressful. I was like, I don't know how to go. I can't do this.
So she's the more practical thinker.
Definitely. I first fly off on the, like, I first, like, have, like, my-
Tragedy, trauma.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, no.
I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
Except when it comes to medical stuff, they are
Yeah.
very clear, like,
Yes.
about it. But like,
Yes.
most of them are like, oh my gosh, there's no flight. I was like, we're never gonna do a comedy show again.
Ah.
This is it. I'd be like, my career's over.
Mm-mm.
And then eventually, my brain clicks. But yeah, so part of the thing is, I think in order to be happy and moderately successful, you need to choose your partners and choose your friends wisely. I think that is
That's
get your circle tight, right? And
the
I think
most
that is
important.
when people say, what is my biggest achievement in life? I think it's that. I think we've managed to get to a place where the circle is tight and those people are there and we know we can lean on them.
For
and
purpose.
then you feel like you can conquer stuff. Like if you know you can shoot off from a good springboard, I think that adds to happiness so much.
Because I
when
think
you-
we're also in a space where we stick with relationships out of almost a sense of guilt.
Duty.
yeah,
of
like I've known
duty.
them since
I've
92.
known them
Now
since
I have
then.
to.
Since then, they're my cousin, they're my uncle, they're my whatever. And it's I feel like more people need to understand that it's okay to just go, you're not for me, you're not serving me.
Biggest thing I've learned through therapy in the last 2 years is relationships have seasons. And I think the moment you accept that, I think it's much better. You know, no relationship, no friendship lasts forever. People are going to come into your life and out of your life, and it's okay. Let them go. Bring the next one in. These things happen, but the certain, the close ones that are. still there.
So one of the big moments for me in the comedy version of this is I speak about acceptance in a number of ways. I speak about acceptance of self, but accept who you are, what you are. You have to accept that the world is unfair and it's going to be unfair forever and ever. Amen. If you expect it to be fair, you're just going to be disappointed. But more importantly than that, you also have to accept people. And I think that when you speak about relationships are seasonal, I think that there's layers to that. So it's I had to accept, for example, that my dad is an alcoholic. Then once I accept that he's an alcoholic, I stop expecting him to not be an alcoholic. Because I think the thing that destroyed my relationship with my dad wasn't him being, because he's the most consistent person I know.
Yeah.
He's always been an alcoholic. I can rely on him to be an
drunk,
alcoholic, to act like an alcoholic. You know what I mean? And what was happening is, because I was always expecting him to not be an alcoholic, it built up so much resentment and the constant disappointment and that cycle. Then you realize, oh, no, I did that. He didn't do that. He showed me who he was. He was constantly who and consistently who he was all the time. But I didn't change my expectation of him, and I put my expectation on him in terms of what I wanted him to be. Then once I changed that, then having that relationship with my dad and understanding that I've got to accept made me then take a step back and look at all of my relationships in my life like that, where I think a lot of relationships don't work because we expect the person to be a certain way. After the person has shown us exactly who they are, then it's acceptance, which in itself causes a lot of pain and hurt, because there's also this myth around you must change to accommodate me, and people think that what do you call it? The give and take, the compromise. And people think that compromise is somebody's got to change. You know what I mean? Then I go, the quicker we realize that there are certain things that just are never going to change. People can learn to adapt their behavior to make you more comfortable, or to have respect for your space, or to not hurt you if you're putting your hand up. But to expect somebody to not be themselves, I think, causes a lot of pain and problems. So I love that fact about. One of the tricks to being happy, especially as a man, I think, is find the right partner. I watched 50 Cent say the other day, Kimmel asked him, so let's talk about celibacy. I believe you're celibate. And then he went, it just makes me clearer. And then he goes, what do you mean? And then he goes, no. Once I'm not trying to pump you, I can actually see that, you're a wreck. You're a little bit crazy. You're a mess. You don't have your life in order. Get away from me. But when you're looking for that, when you're driven by testosterone, you forgive big things, and then you end up with somebody that you don't even like because you like their pictures. You know what I mean?
100%.
It's not the same. Ooh, that got. I feel that.
You're right. And it's not easy. Choosing your right partner, there's a lot of
it's hard.
luck involved in that as well. But it's also knowing when to leave relationships, right? Or when to leave.
Yeah.
Know when to hold, know when to fold.
Yeah, know when to be like, guys, this job, this thing, whatever I'm doing, this relationship, friendship, marriage is not for me.
Ear the spun.
I'm out.
And it's okay. That's the thing, is that you've got to understand that it's okay to make those moves.
It's braver to make those moves, and that should be celebrated
instead of sticking around and hoping for that expectation, hoping for that change in the person.
And it feels cruel, but I promise you it's the kindest that you can be to yourself.
100%.
The kindest that you can be to yourself is to accept everybody around you and not put your expectations on them, but let them treat you what to expect, and manage your expectations that way. Donny, we wrap it up with the Goliath Happiness Index. Essentially, gratitude, acceptance, perspective. We rate them where you are, where you believe you are, 1 to 5. So 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest possible. In terms of gratitude in your life, where are you in terms of your ability to celebrate it, 1 to 5?
Gratitude, definitely 5. That I've learned over time to get a good handle on being gratitude, being grateful. Being gratitude.
Not a doctor of English.
No, back to school. Being grateful, definitely number 1. 5. Definitely 5. Yeah. Definitely feel like I've worked on that, and that is.
We the most interesting answer we got, I think, was from John Boynton Lee, and he said, I'm a 5. But I'm 2.5. And we were like, what does that mean? He said, no, because I'm 2.5 happy, 2.5 sad, and I need both. Because both of them inspire my gratitude. And I was like, that's a better answer. No, he was, it's a better, we learned.
But you
have to learn from each other.
100%.
That's the purpose of being here.
That is an amazing answer.
So it was because you need the one to, because gratitude comes from knowing what you could be experiencing, knowing what you could be going through, based on you drawing from those experiences, which is great. So I like that, a 5. Acceptance, in terms of accepting who you are, where you are, what you are, 1 to 5.
So accepting who I am now in 2024, definitely I'd say 4 out of 5 compared to 2013, 14. I struggle to accept circumstances at times. I still have this, man, that's unfair.
Yeah.
And then I struggle
the crack in the wall.
The crack in the wall. Exactly that. There I struggle quite a bit.
It's I mean, I have no advice for that other than it's one of the big acceptances for me was accepting that the life is never going to take its foot off my neck.
Yeah.
Life, as soon as things are going good, life is going to try and take it away. So for a long time, I became frustrated by the fact that people psychologically, it's easy for us to be negative. So if your normal is negative, you speak to people, how are you? I'm tired, I'm stressed, I'm broke, I'm whatever. It seems to be like the norm. People seem to be comfortable when they're negative. Then my brain goes, if you create that as your normal, when something good happens, your brain tells you that this is unnatural and it's not. It's too good to be
not
true.
gonna last.
It's not for me. It's not going to last. Then you work against that good thing to get back to your unhappy state of comfort. Where I was like, if you can flip that to your normal is good, your normal is positive, your normal is grateful, your normal is happy. When something bad happens, your brain treats that like the infection and goes,
Okay, this
I'm
we
not,
need to
this
work
is
on.
out.
Yeah.
We need to work on. We need to get back to the other one, which was a big part of me being in a space of it is what it is. Like, and I'm deep there now. Like my car has been with the mechanic since May.
Yeah.
7 months.
You see
I've
that-
been
then I'm
paying
like,
for a
this
car
is
that I haven't
ridiculous.
had. I got it back in August, didn't make it home, pulled a bearing. So an even bigger problem than it went in for. Now the engine is out again. And even when I pull the bearing, my brain not only goes, it is what it is, but my brain goes, yeah, how lucky am I? That, and Nicholas is very good at keeping me grounded. So not only your wife, but all the relationships you have, because he goes, but I don't moan to me. You left your 1M car at the mechanic. You're driving your other M car as the backup. You have no problem. Then my brain is being trained in those moments to go, yes, this thing is broken, but how lucky am I that I'm of the means to be able to
get into another
fix
car,
it.
number one.
Yeah, no, to get
have
into
a-
another car, but also to be able to repair it. So it doesn't matter what's going on. It can always be worse. And thank goodness I wasn't injured. There was no
100%,
accident.
like
there
at a
was no-
high-speed thing where something fell out.
So it may feel like you kind of got to reach a long way, but because I enjoy the gratitude, the acceptance, the perspective, the feeling happy and okay so much, I'd rather make the reach to go. So like for me, how lucky are you that you have a crack in your wall?
And you have a wall.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Because I
That you
remember...
have a lawyer that you can call to speak to the contractor to
Just that
know,
I can,
processes where
100%.
other people don't have a wall.
yeah.
They are outside.
So you need Rishlu Bonwa's voice in your head all the time.
Or your
I re-
friends to keep you grounded, right? Like,
yes.
Just to be like, guys, get a grip on your...
No, that's it. Yeah, and to keep you focused on what matters. So like Rishlu, we were once in a group of comics all talking about our stories, and Alfred Adrian goes, yes, guys, I remember we grew up so hard. I would do my homework in the garage every day. And then Rishlu goes, oh, you all had a garage.
Yeah, that is...
Then immediately in that you kind of go,
Perspective.
and especially as a South African, that's not difficult to do.
Yeah.
If you have a car, you should be grateful every day.
100%,
Like you already you've won the race. So acceptance, you said
Did I say 3.5?
3 is
Somewhere
fair.
around? Yeah.
Yeah.
and I'm sure it moves different days. It's higher and lower. Perspective, the difficult one for you.
Yeah, because you first need the acceptance to get the perspective at time. So yeah, I still struggle there as well. Like, but you're right. Like, I'm being much more intentional with my thinking. Like in these moments where I have anxiety and I panic and I go, exactly that. Could this be worse? Yes or no. Am I grateful that I have these like first world problems? Yes, and that gives you the perspective. So it's about being intentional, like taking a moment, pausing, thinking, and being like, let's just reevaluate where we are and see what's going on.
So the thing there is that you said you've got to have the acceptance before you find the perspective, and I find that so the reason we have gap because it makes a word and it's easy to remember,
But it's not an
But
order,
it's
yeah.
not an order,
And it
'cause-
fluctuates, right?
Yeah, because like the acceptance, you can't accept the crack in the wall. It makes you angry, but if you change your perspective and go, oh shit, I have a wall that has a crack in and I can afford to fix the wall and I can... That change in perspective then allows you to accept the fact that...
Then you can be gratitude and it, like,
there's
it
yeah,
fluctuates.
so they all work together, and sometimes you have to reach for the one to get to the other. So when you're struggling with acceptance, you look for gratitude. When you're struggling with gratitude, and yeah, they all fit.
This has been a
in
great
any
therapy
way.
session for me as well, right?
I'm
Like,
glad,
you,
man.
You
Thank you.
learn a lot from just talking to other people, right?
Dude,
That's
that's
what we've
exactly
been
why we're
saying.
doing this. Because it's therapy for us. That's why we do
I'm
this.
like, I'm going to sit in the car on the way back now.
It's-
Grateful that I have a car. And be like,
Yes.
yes, this is...
Yeah.
True, bruh.
There's some gems that I've picked up here.
I'll say two things. One of the other great things David Kibuka always said to me is sometimes when things are going wrong, you just need to either zoom out or zoom in.
Yeah.
So he goes, if you're feeling shit, you go, is there anything I actually need right now that I don't have? And then he goes, you can get as practical about it as you want. I've got battery life and airtime on my phone.
You don't need more
I'm
in this
not
moment.
hungry. I'm not thirsty. I have somewhere to go after this. Where
I'm a
there's
little
bed.
bit hungry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No, but it's like in the moment.
Oh.
Then the final thing as a doctor, I haven't set my watch. I keep looking at it. The final thing as a doctor is I read a thing that said, and I know you're not a specialist, so this could be a stretch for you. But the final thing as a doctor, we read a thing, and it's come up in a number of episodes, that gratitude and acceptance are made in the same part of the brain, and that part of the brain can only do one of them at a time, which is why when you are feeling anxious, it is so difficult to grasp gratitude that you should be obviously grateful for, and why that it makes that, people who suffer specifically with anxiety generally suffer to think about gratitude and their gratefulness. Does that ring true to you? Do you know anything about that? Should I go and read more?
I need to go read more. As I said, I know nothing about that.
Because it makes sense to me when I think about it. Like when I'm anxious, I go, oh,
You can't see the light at the end of the
100%. And then when I'm grateful, there's no anxiety. Also, there's zero. So I'm always like trying to stay close to my gratitude, so that if I feel the anxiety coming in, I can grab those low hanging gratitude apples.
So I don't know that, but we can sort your tonsillitis out later.
Done.
Nice.
Done. I've just been diagnosed with tonsillitis, but I've got medical aid, so I should be fine. Dr. Donny Fick, thank you so much for your time, brother.
Thank you so much for, as I said, a great therapy session. And just, it sparks your brain to think about things a little bit differently. And I think this is why you guys are here. So thank you for having this.
100%. I'm going to ask you to look into that camera, tell us who you are, and tell us why people should watch your episode of the Happiness Economy podcast.
My name is Donny Fick. I'm a general practitioner in Johannesburg. And why you should watch my episode of the Happiness Economy podcast is because I got therapy by 2 comedians for free.
Yes, and he's not a specialist.